It's about darn time. Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Entrepreneur. Welcome to my media channel, and let's talk about this Netflix memo that made its way around the company. Now, the reason I'm a little late talking about this is there were some things going on in my personal life that I kind of had to deal with and kind of took away my passion to make videos for a little while. But I'm back, and when I saw this story, I knew I definitely wanted to talk about it. And this comes to us from Black Enterprise, that Netflix is basically offering the door to workers who are offended by what Netflix puts on the platform. They sent out a memo, and this was a very good memo, in my opinion. I think it is long overdue. But here's what it says. Netflix sent out a corporate memo to their potentially disgruntled employees, setting a line of demarcation about the streaming platform's controversial content like Dave Chappelle's stand-up special, The Closer, which many deemed a problem, to put it lightly. The corporation acknowledged that the content they greenlit may offend certain employees regarding their thoughts, creeds, and lifestyles. However, they have no intention of suppressing quote-unquote artistic expression. If any worker has an issue with their stance, they have the complete freedom to Netflix and chill straight off the premises. That's the writer's words, not Netflix's. In fact, Netflix's exact words were, "If you find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you." That states a memo that informed employees who remained with the company would be required to work on projects they may disagree with or perceive to be harmful. And look, I think this is well overdue. I think this is well overdue. And here's why. Now, here's the thing. This is not the first song and dance rodeo that Netflix has gone through where people have found Netflix's content offensive. I know a friend who has a very healthy stock portfolio and did not want to put money into Netflix because, in her opinion, Netflix made PORN. And that is not true, in my opinion. I believe that they make movies and TV series that are steamy. They're certainly no worse than Warner Brothers or Paramount. They make their own steamy stuff. Netflix has made their first NC-17 rated film with a upcoming Marilyn Monroe movie. I think it's called Blonde. But I do not consider this to be deemed that word. But you know what? This person had every right not to invest in them if they wanted to. For that matter, I think it was a year or two ago at this point, Netflix dropped Cuties, and I remember a lot of conservatives were up in arms about that special. And you had liberals basically saying that, look, you're taking it way out of context. This movie is not about this. This is what it's about. It's actually anti-child exploitation. And now it's the exact opposite. Now you have liberals saying that this content is harmful, the Dave Chappelle special, and that it needs to be removed for the good of other people, and conservatives are now crying about free speech. Seems to me the only thing that everyone seems to have in common is that if it is something they do not personally like, then for the good of society, it needs to be removed. And look, here's the thing. If something is deemed illegal, that is one thing, but Dave Chappelle's jokes are not illegal. All the stuff that's in Cuties is not illegal. And by the way, religious groups who say that Netflix has too much edgy content on their platform, they are free to either turn on the parental controls and make sure that their family cannot watch those programs, or they are free to simply not subscribe to Netflix. You know, here's one of the most difficult parts about being a film critic and a entertainment lover in the age of cancel culture, which very much does exist. Don't pretend that it doesn't. And that is that you have groups and people on both sides of the spectrum basically calling for the removal of things they do not like. And it is ridiculous. I mean, Some people say, like, well, it's ridiculous that, parents want to remove Mouse from the libraries, which is, about, World War II and Nazism, and, it's told as an allegory with mice and cats. And there were schools that decided to remove it from the school curriculum system. And there were liberals saying, like, why would you want to take that away? You clearly don't want people to know there's hate. Well, the people who pulled it said it was because of the nudity and the sexual content in the books. And for the record, I disagree with removing that book from the libraries and the schools. I think it's an important book for them to read. But you know what? One side was calling for it to be removed because they were offended by something, and another side said they weren't offended by it and they felt it should be taught in schools. And now we have this thing with Dave Chappelle. There are people who said that these jokes are harmful. They're literally violence against a certain group of people. And then you have another group saying they're just jokes. What, can we not joke about things anymore? And I'm kind of on the middle on that one. It's like, are the jokes offensive? Are they hurtful? You're darn right they're hurtful and they're offensive. On the other hand, isn't that what comedians do? They toe the line, they push the boundaries, and they talk about things that are considered taboo. I will always defend someone's right to say something as long as they're not actually hurting someone. That's why I will defend Rachel Maddow's stereotyping of Republicans, and I will also defend Tucker Carlson's stereotyping of the left. I think they're both wrong to a certain extent, but, they have feelings about the other side, and as long as they are not calling for literal violence, then they are perfectly okay to speak their mind. And I think Netflix just kind of had to take a line in the stand. And you know why I think they did this? I think they did this because of Disney. You see, there's a situation recently with Florida and Disney where Disney did not react to a bill that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who I hate for the record. I just hate that man. And he makes so many wrong decisions. But anyway, Disney did not make a statement on the Don't Say Gay bill. And you know what? I think that's good business. Now, if they wanted to say something, that's their right to say something. They can definitely speak out against it if they feel like it's an important enough issue for them to speak out against it. But I think as a business decision, it makes sense to not mention it at all. Well, Chapek got dragged through the mud. Bob Chapek, their CEO, and Disney was criticizing the media for basically not taking a stand. So what did Disney do? They took a stand and they said they not only disagreed with it, but they would take everything that they could, all their resources, to get it overturned. Well, that was probably a step too far, because Florida basically went after their special tax exemption, and now they're thinking of bringing Mickey Mouse's copyrights to an end. Now, I fully agree that Florida is doing this basically to be punitive. They didn't like that Disney overstepped their boundaries, and what they perceived to be Disney overstepping their boundaries, and said, we're going to show you for speaking out. And I do not like that either. But here's the thing. Disney technically had no reason to get involved unless they personally wanted to. I feel that Disney got pressured into objecting to the Don't Say Gay bill. I don't think they were going to do it. And then they created a bunch of problems for themselves. They are potentially losing their special tax exempt status. Mickey Mouse's copyright is in danger. They have a bunch of conservative families. And make no mistake, Disney is primarily funded by conservatives who make a lot of money. And they are canceling their trips to Disneyland and Disney World because they don't want to give money to that type of corporation. Now, again, Disney was perfectly free to speak these objections if they wanted to, and they decided that what was going on in their company was worth it to them, but it's really cost them quite a bit, and other companies, I think, are looking at this as an example of, you know what, we just have to draw the line in the sand. You know what, we aren't like an activist company. We're not here to make the world a better place. We are here to sell a product. And we do not want to get involved with politics because that product could be compromised. So Netflix has made it abundantly clear at this point that, hey, We are going to make money making content and programs and movies that you probably will find offensive. You might not like them, but we are going to make it anyway. And if you have a problem with that, maybe you shouldn't work here. And I also want to state that this is a lesson I had to learn a long time ago. That, you know what, the company you work for is going to do a lot of things you do not agree with. And you do have to sincerely ask yourself, like, hey, is it worth putting up with this? Do I agree with these values? Am I, devaluing myself as a human being if I work for these companies? And if you don't want to work for these companies because you feel that you are going to be an immoral person, then yes, you should leave. But you know what? It is ultimately their company. And while I am not saying that Netflix should not listen to the concerns of their employees, they absolutely should. And if there are reasonable concerns, they should do something. I have personally felt that, you know what, if you took the Dave Chappelle special off, then that makes it right for all the comedians' work on Netflix to be taken off the channel. And some of those specials are squeaky clean. Like, what if, you took Amy Schumer's comedy specials off Netflix because you have some rednecks who don't believe in feminism and don't believe in women's rights, and they don't like the fact that a woman is even on there alone telling jokes and she's talking bad about men, and they're offended by that. I mean, you might say, well, that, right side of history. You know what? It's all in the eye of the beholder. The bottom line is, whether it's right or wrong, someone's offended by that. And so I think that if you're offended by it, you should feel offended and you should not watch it. You vote with your viewing minutes. Watch the stuff that you like and don't watch the stuff that you don't like. And if you are really offended by something that they are, producing, then do not subscribe to Netflix. And here's the thing. Yeah, if you are offended by this content, you probably shouldn't be working at Netflix, because the thing is, at some point there's going to be something like, okay, those people who pulled Mouse from the libraries, what if they went to Netflix and said take Schindler's List off? I don't know if Schindler's List is still on there, but I'm just saying. I mean, yeah, I think it's stupid. I think that should absolutely be ignored. But if you removed Dave Chappelle, well, there's a precedent. Like, hey, you get enough people to say that they're going to cancel their Netflix accounts or walk off, then you know what? You got to take Schindler's List off. And I know some people are going to completely disagree with me. There are some people who this is such a sensitive issue that basically there is no justification for the Dave Chappelle special, or even Cuties for that matter, to remain on the platform. My whole thing is that Netflix has basically made it clear. And by the way, if you want to work for a company, it's very good that they're making this clear. That, hey, we are going to make stuff that you do not like. And if you don't like that, you are going to have to work somewhere else. I mean, think of it this way. Let's say you get a job at Barnes & Noble. And it's like, all right, I'm going to be working at Barnes & Noble. But I don't like the fact that Barnes & Noble sells Mein Kampf. I don't like that they sell Woody Allen books. I don't like that they sell Woody Allen movies. And that manga artist who did Rurouni Kenshin, like, didn't he get in trouble with the law for looking at material he probably shouldn't have been? Well, maybe we should pull all those books, and if they don't pull those books, I'm going to stage a protest and I'm going to walk out. And here's the thing, Barnes & Noble would laugh at you, because there's plenty of people who want to work there who know that they don't have to read those books. If people want to buy them, that's their choice. But if you don't want to buy them, you don't want to read them, that's your choice. But they're not going to be removing product just because you personally are offended by that product. And that's what Netflix is doing right now. And I think it's personally a very sane position to have. And by the way, if Netflix does release something that really causes a stir and creates a big enough problem that they are losing subscribers, they will probably never make something like that again. So there's still things that you can do to vote. If this special really did bother you, you can let them know that you're canceling your Netflix account because of that special. But at the end of the day, I think Netflix is just realizing that there's no winning for trying. And no, they didn't try to remove it. They didn't try to edit it or anything like that. But, I remember that they edited 13 Reasons Why. That show was criticized for glamorizing doing harm upon oneself, and they were requested to remove certain scenes. Well, Netflix did that, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. They're like, no, we want you to pull the whole thing. And I don't know. I think at some point this just kind of has to end, and people have to realize that there are things they're just not going to always like. But anyway, that's where we're going to end this very controversial topic. I would like to know what you think about it and where you stand on this situation, if you think Netflix is right to offer this memo. So, you know the drill, comment below. And like, favorite, share. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.